I'm back with another story. This is an interesting story, a sad story if you ask me, of two people that looked good on paper, but in reality they were deadly matched and completely obviously wrong for each other. And I want to do Phil Hartman. Now, if you don't remember Phil Hartman, he used to be on Saturday Night Live, kind of back in the days when Saturday Night Live was really good. He used to always play like Frank Sinatra, and his everyone has a character that they play. I used to love his character like that. But Phil was born in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. And when he became about 10 years old, his family moved to the United States. They actually moved to California. And he earned his degree in California in college in graphic arts. At this time, Phil was not even thinking about going into showbiz or anything like that. He was an artist, sure, and he had that kind of love of all of that, but he wasn't looking to be a performer. He was one of those people that was sort of funny around the office all the time, that really could crack you up or do impersonations. That was him. But then in 1975, he joined the Groundlings. And the Groundlings, if you have never heard of them, they're like a comedy troupe, like Second City and that type of thing. And he joined them and did pretty well. In fact, he worked with Paul Reubens. Paul Reubens, if you remember, was Pee Wee Herman. And Phil Hartman helped create the character of Pee Wee Herman, and even helped write for Pee Wee Herman. Now, in 1986, we see Phil has now joined Saturday Night Live. And he was a great addition. Everybody that worked with him absolutely loved him. In those days, Saturday Night Live had a tradition of drug use, okay, and partying and things like that. And he wasn't so much into that. He was really into the art and the craft, with writing material for himself and others, as well as performing. And he had met Brynn at this time, and he had been married twice, and those marriages didn't work out. He hadn't been married to Brynn yet, but she really wanted to be on Saturday Night Live, and she would come down to the studio and hang out all the time. So much so that they even put her in one of their opening, they have the opening montage where they come on. And it is the one where Phil is sitting and looking out at the camera at us, and it looks like he's on a date with someone, but we only see the backside of the female. And that was Brynn. However, it took like 30-some takes for them to get that particular shot, or that particular segment of that montage correct, because she kept turning to look over her shoulder to be seen on camera. She was just desperate to have some fame in Hollywood. On Saturday Night Live, they used to call Phil the Glue. He stayed on the show 8 seasons, and he was just a very strong force to be reckoned with. He was sort of like everybody's dad, very much kind of controlling, I guess you want to say, and set this tone of seriousness, but could still have comedy. And that was really that structure that really, I guess they really needed. He also won a Primetime Emmy for his appearance on Saturday Night Live. Now, in 1995, he left and he went and got a regular series, and it was called Primetime Radio. It was called News Radio. It was called News Radio, and he was on that for quite a long time too, and that show also did very well. He also did some films, Jingle All the Way, House Guest, Sergeant Bilko. Not films that made huge amounts of money, but a lot of times it was Lorne Michael, who was creator of Saturday Night Live, that was behind those. But they still got him out there in the spotlight in a different way, so he wouldn't just be tied into Saturday Night Live. Now, in 1987 is when he met Brynn. And like I said, in 1986, he joined Saturday Night Live. And so he met Brynn after his first season on Saturday Night Live. And the two got married, and they had 2 children. Now, Brynn seemed as if she had the perfect life. But She really didn't. She was beautiful. She'd gotten additional surgery, nips and tucks here. She auditioned for a lot of different things. She got a few little bit parts here and there, but she never hit it big. Her frustration was with Phil, because Phil would tell her he would try to get her on, or he would suggest her name to someone. The problem was is that her talent didn't really raise from that. Now, she was from Thief River, Minnesota. That's what it was. And not that people from Minnesota cannot act. It's just that that's where she was born from. So her coming out to Hollywood was like, wow, this is major. And then marrying someone who was popular and famous and whose fame continued to grow was like a dream come true for her. The problem was, it was between her and Phil. Phil had a lot of freedom. I looked at his chart, and he's got a lot of love for freedom and space and traveling, and at the same time wanted to control the house. Where Brynn was more of a type that wanted to have the fame equal or equivalent to his, couldn't understand why she couldn't get it, and yet also didn't want to be controlled. She resented that. But she had a lot of Libra energy that would make her kind of go along to get along, but not really being her true, authentic self and speaking to how she felt. In addition, Brynn got to the point where it was past postpartum depression and all that. It was just later on. She started to take Zoloft, which was an antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication. In addition, she would drink, not like a lush, but she would drink a lot of wine and that type of thing. On top of that, she started taking cocaine, because the cocaine made her feel good and strong and confident. Phil, on the other hand, he wasn't indulging in anything. His addiction was getting out and about. He loved to be out. He loved to be in his fancy cars or on his boat or going here or there. This is just alleged. Just looking at his chart, I could tell also he had a real admiration for beautiful women in general. So I'm just putting that out there. That's just looking at his particular chart. But Brynn had gotten so addicted to cocaine that she had to get some therapy, and she had to go into rehab to get off of it. But sometimes when things are very addictive to you and you combine them with other things, something can go real wrong. And Brynn had actually, even though she had been off of cocaine for a while, and this is all alleged by comedian John Lovitz, who used to be on Saturday Night Live as well. He says that another comedian by the name of Andy Dick, who played on news radio with Phil, again alleged, gave Brynn the cocaine when she had so-called rehab from it. So on May 27th, 1998, Brynn was intoxicated. She had been drinking. She had taken Zoloft, and in addition to cocaine. She had gone to dinner with a friend that night just to talk about what was going on in her career. She was getting older, and she was really afraid that her career was never going to be. She had had 2 children. She wasn't as young as she used to be. She felt she was losing her looks, although that was completely not true. That was the paranoia of the drug. But she felt like that. Her resentment to Phil. So she goes to dinner and she comes home. Her and Phil have a big blow up, okay, because she's been gone so long, and it's sort of like a confrontation battle of wills, battle of who's in charge, battle of what happened to my career, don't try to control me, all of those things that can happen in any relationship, except they may happen without the fuel of the intoxicants. Phil ended up being done with the relationship. He walked out of the room and he went to bed. Around 3 a.m., now it's May 28th, 1998, Brynn goes into the room. She faces Phil. She shoots him once between the eye, once in the throat, and once in the chest. Like, just like that, while he is asleep. That had me really thinking, just a side note, that she shot him everywhere that she felt not seen, between the eyes, because he didn't see her as an actress. He didn't see her as his only love, that he shouldn't be looking at other people. In the throat, is almost as if she was saying to him, I don't want to hear what you have to say anymore. You don't control me. Stop talking to me. Stop squashing down my dreams. And in the heart, as if you don't love me anyway, so let me just shoot you there. That's just my speculation. It just seemed so clear to me as I'm feeling through this. At this point, she has shot him 3 times. She's got a .38 caliber weapon. She leaves him there. She leaves with the gun, and she goes back over to the same friend's house that she had went to dinner with. She goes over there and she tells the friend what happened. Well, initially that she had killed her Phil. Initially, the friend does not believe her. They continue to sit there and they're talking about it. I don't know what they're doing between that time, because she's killed him at 3 a.m. Finally, the friend convinces her, give me the gun, I'll put it in my trunk. Let's drive over to the house and let me see. And that's what they do. He takes the gun, he puts it in his trunk. He drives back over to Phil and Bryn's house. He goes into their bedroom, and he sees Phil's body laying there. At this point, it is about 6:20 a.m. and the friend calls the police. The police come out, and now, if you lived anywhere, actually, but at that time I was living in California, and so it was huge on the news there, and it was live. The police came to the house. They tried to get in. They couldn't get in. They begged and begged and begged Brynn to let them get in the house, let them get the children. And so she was able to, she did allow them to come in and get the children. She had locked herself into her bedroom where Phil was laying. So the police came in. I still can see it right to this day. The female police officer was carrying, one was walking, and she was carrying the little girl, a little boy, little girl, in a little nightgown, carrying her away from the house. And they also told the friend to get away from the house. Once the kids were out of the house, it wasn't long at all, and everyone could hear that. If you watched, it was live. You hear this pop, and at that point, Brynn, who had locked herself in the bedroom, shot herself as well and committed suicide. Wow, that is a terrible story. At that point, after that, her brother, I believe, her brother sets out and sues the pharmaceutical company as well as the child psychiatrist, because the child psychiatrist would give her samples of Zoloft, and the pharmaceutical company, because they knew that it could cause people to have, allegedly, Zoloft would have people to have suicidal thoughts. And he blamed that. John Levitz, comedian John Levitz, he blamed Andy Dick, alleged, because of Brynn being back on cocaine, and he was implying that the cocaine came from Andy Dick. Ultimately, her sister and her brother-in-law shared raising the children. They were left a few million in the will, and they weren't given it. Didn't give it to them right away. After they got 25, they were able to get small pieces of that with that money until that money was gone. So now I want to take a look at, I was looking at their charts, but I was also looking at their birthdays, and it was just very clear what happened in this relationship. I'll be right back. And so I've got Phil Hartman. His birthday is September 24th, 1948 in Brantford, Ontario, Canada at 5 p.m. And Brynn's birthday was April 11th, 1958, and she was born in Thief River Falls, Minnesota, is what it is, at 4:51 p.m. And so, as I look at Phil, that 1998 was a number 9 year, which is a tough year anyways, because it's a general universal year of endings for everybody. Whatever you're not doing is not going to work out. there'll be major moves. In fact, I moved cross country that year. As I like, oh my goodness, I sure did. I moved across country in June. But anyways, it's a year of changes, endings, finishing things out. And so for Phil, his personal year for September 24th, he was still in the number 8 year because his birthday hadn't come. His birthday is in September, and the murder was May 28th. So he was in a number 5 year. So that tells me he was gone all the time, okay? That was one of her problems right there, I promise you. He was gone all the time. That talks about going, short journeys, trips, vacays, getaways, fun, freedom. There's some severity in there for sure. Relationship tests. There were some work tests because news radio was sort of gone or going downhill. So there was a lot of changes going on with him. Not only that, that number 5 tells me that there was somebody else, and I don't know who it is, and maybe you guys do. I've heard something. Maybe we never will, but there was somebody else on the back burner that was sort of waiting on their opportunity to scoot in between that relationship. And that's what I'm seeing. His life path is a number 1. So here we have this star, TV, movies, the whole thing, a number 1 life path. That means it's about me. I'm doing what I want. I want to lead. I'm in charge. I start things. I finish things. I make things happen. Everybody do what I do. So that just was him in a number 5 year saying that I'm doing whatever I want to do, period. Because 5 is about that. I want to have fun. I want to have freedom. I don't care at what cost it's going to be. But yeah, it was, I'm going to do what I want to do the way I want to do it with that number 1 and that number 5, no matter what. Unfortunately, Phil had destiny galore in this situation. This was his 3rd marriage, not his first. And this way of it's my way or the highway, which was doubled with the number 5 personal year and a life path of 1. It was my way or the highway. Even if he wasn't loud, even if he didn't drink or abuse pills or anything else, it was still going to be my way or the highway. He liked things open and wide, freedom of mind. He's got a rising in Aquarius, a sun in Libra, and a moon in Gemini. Those are not the people to commit to. Their mind is going all over the place. Their energy is not as focused unless it's something they really love or something they're really thirsty for, or it really is about what they want. Where he had more freedom on Saturday Night Live to be able to write his own skits and his own things. He wasn't as happy on news radio because they set up the premise. They had a whole writing room and he just was the talent. But he liked fun and freedom. He had a Venus in Leo, so that meant that he thought he was the you know what. I mean, attractive. He was attractive. Take the lead. A Romeo. I call him the Knight of Cups. That guy coming with the kind words, the flirtatious, the charm. He had that on lock. Trust me. If he loved you, he loved you. That is true. But it didn't mean that you were the only one that he would love. He had a Mars in Scorpio. That's a man with a temper. People say that the marriage was troubled. Absolutely was. It absolutely was troubled. There was problems in that relationship because people had short tempers, and that Scorpio energy is so intense. He could either love you or hate you, but if you made him mad, he was coming for you, period, and saying things that could be very harsh. And he would say things to her that were very harsh. It was as if she was the TNT and he was the match. Okay, completely. But it was destiny. Brynn had the freedom, but Brynn really liked things more private. Brynn's birthday is April 11, 1958. Her birthday was 11, and she was in the 11th phase of her life, and that is about life and death, and that makes you a great spiritual teacher. But it's because you have to learn the lessons the hard way if you live through them. Her personal year was 11. She's an 11-11. She was 11-11. It's as if she was an archangel that came down to do the job that she was supposed to do in this life. Her plan with Phil coming down here, coming together, doing that plan is exactly what happened. And she had the life by bringing children into this world, and she had the death by taking him out and herself out of the world. That takes a lot of courage or foolishness, one, to do that. Yeah, her personal year for that time in April, because that was her birthday, came in April. The murder was May 28th. So she was in her right year, that number 9 year. For her, it was a 6 personal year. So while Phil was going off and doing what he wanted to do, and he was doing whatever he wanted to do, the way he wanted to do it, taking trips, and not just like, going to the store often or going by a buddy house. I'm talking about taking boat getaways, short trip getaways with him and whoever, okay? But not her. She was responsible for everything. Now, she was on Zoloft. She was on cocaine. She was drinking. This is the person that you leave to be responsible and reliable. Just because you're in that 6th year and that's what you're supposed to do, doesn't mean that you want to do. And for her, it was an ill-dignified 6. This was not what she was going to do, not what she wanted to do. She wanted to be a star, and she didn't want all the duties and responsibilities. That's why they had the caregivers and everything for the children. She didn't want that. She didn't want that job. Not her 6th personal year, or not any time. Her rising is a Virgo, so she appears to us as a Virgo, all pulled together, nice neat hair, and everything matchy. That's that whole Virgo type of energy, with the sun in Aries. So her sun in Aries would really, and his sun in Libra, that air would blow that fire, and it would blow up, or he would blow it out. Any dreams, he would kill those dreams of hers, or by not putting the energy into her or spending time with her and the kids, that would blow that fire up. They both had air sign moons, his in Gemini, hers in Aquarius, which that's good on one hand, but on the other, it makes it hard for you to get close to those people. Those people don't just open up their heart like that. They think that they love you. Understand what I'm saying? They think about loving you. They're not really necessarily feeling that. Perhaps for their children, but not for a mate. They think about the good qualities of you. And so it was hard for them to bring that together. Her Venus is also in Pisces. And boy, is that a trouble place. I tell you guys that all the time. That's somebody who is imaginative, dreamy, extremely sensitive. They can have substance abuse issues. She can, in an ill-dignified way, she's a lost fish. And she should have been in Minnesota, to be honest with you, because she did have freedom. She could have chosen not to do that night. But she should have been back home in Minnesota with some guy that really believed in her, and because she needed that kind of hands-on, I believe in you, I'm with you, I'm going to make your dream come true. One thing, she had a Mars in Aquarius, and that says that one thing that she didn't like is his controllingness. Phil had a real controlling type of nature. He could control without necessarily hollering at you, but he sort of had laid these rules and these stipulations down of, this is the way I like it, and this is what it's going to be like in my house, and this is the way I want my kids run. And her, it was a struggle, because number one, she's got a Mars in her Aquarius that says that I don't like to be told what to do. I don't like to have authority figures micromanaging over me. And then on the other hand, she's got Libra and Jupiter that says that I'll go along just to get along. But when you do that so long, you explode. And that's what happened with her. She completely exploded. On the night, it was sort of, I'm done arguing. I'm done fighting. I don't want to hear it anymore. I tell you, I could feel his energy. He was like, I'm done. I'm going to bed. He walked out on her mid-sentence. She sat and she stewed. And that Aries sun got hot. That Mars in Aquarius, you're trying to control me all the time. That Venus in Pisces, almost like, where am I? What am I doing? I'm under these substances. And she just acted. And at that point, she didn't see any way out. And that speaks to that Pisces energy of that fish in the water that is going the wrong direction, and there was no way out, and she took herself as well. That is a very sad story, guys. Anyways, that is the story of Phil Hartman and his wife, Brynn Hartman. Guys, if you like the channel, share, share, share. Tell a friend. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.